Megalopolis is the film of Francis Ford Coppola, his most recent film, highly criticized film. Some people walk away thinking great things of the movie, but I'd say most are saying it's a complete mess. And that's quite unfortunate because this is most likely Francis Ford Coppola's swan song. He's 85 years old, and I don't see him doing anything else. And it's quite sad to see this get quite negative reviews because the story of it is so fantastic. The rebel attitude of Francis Ford Coppola in the making of this sort of, I'm going to sell my own wine garden. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to spend the $125 million myself if I have to. It's very inspiring and very powerful, and lots of people love the story, including me. I think it's an incredible rebellious attitude. I love that sort of stuff, but it just doesn't come together as a film. Megalopolis is a great mess of a film. It's very unfortunate to me. The movie takes place in a city called New Rome, and it's trying to do these connections between the U.S. and Rome, which I find a very exhausting metaphor. We've heard the USA is the new Rome millions times over, and I don't think it needs to be said again, but that's 90% of what this movie is drawing these comparisons to America and Rome, with everybody's name as Caesar and Claudius, and they all have these great Roman names, and this Roman idea is just so overdone at this point. And the story wants to have this grandiose, fantastical meaning of life message to it, but there just isn't enough meat on the bone of this very bare plot. It's very empty at times. The main plot it surrounds Adam Driver's character, who is this great architect of the future, and it's his fight with the mayor of the city of Megalopolis, played by Giancarlo Esposito. When it's not about that, I mean, who knows what it's about? There's a subplot with Grace Vanderwaal that seems to go nowhere, and there's tons of stuff that just feels like a mess. For instance, there's this part where there's this Soviet missile in the sky, and it's hurling towards Earth, and it has this big mark on the movie, and it makes a big deal about this, and it just goes nowhere. It has no meaning to it. And I suppose the symbolic meaning of it is how destruction is followed up by creation, but it just feels clunky. When this plot line of the Soviet missile hits, it ends, and it just ends. It's very plain, and it's very awkward. You're standing there in confusion, like, where did that go? Where did that come from? And that's what every single performance in this movie feels like, too. People just are all over the place. There's people who are underacting. There's people who are overacting. Quite frankly, I think the only person in the whole entire movie who has the tone correct is Adam Driver. He's the only one who I think understands this tongue-in-cheek nature of the movie, while also giving a very intense, scowling performance. His character the whole entire time is going on these great rants about either he's such a genius or why life is so incredible. That's every single line is either about how beautiful art is, or how important growth and change is, or about how I'm such a genius and everybody is so below me. And he has a romantic subplot, not subplot, but I guess the main plot, with Nathalie Emmanuel, and she gives, quite frankly, I think one of the worst performances I've seen in a movie in a long, long time of this scale. I was laughing at her line deliveries at time, and you feel bad for actors when they give something that bad on such a large scale. But everybody, I mean, you're confused at a certain point. Shia LaBeouf is doing something that's not even describable by words. He's just running around in diapers and dresses, and it just never feels complete. Aubrey Plaza, too, who she gives a certain line deliveries in this that feel amateur. They don't feel like they're of professional quality. These are not actors of a $124 million budget, which is insane because they're great actors. Shia LaBeouf is a fantastic actor. Jon Voight gives a terrible performance in this movie. I honestly have no clue if he knows where he was when he was filming it. He just looks lost. Same thing could be said for Dustin Hoffman. And these names I'm listing off, these aren't bad actors. These are fantastic actors. It's sad to see them give such bad performances. And they're not helped by much by the visuals of the movie. Now, sometimes the effects of the movie look fantastic. Other times they look terrible. They look amateurish. They look like they're generated by AI. They just look like they're not done rendering. It looks like a child did it at times. And it's unfortunate because you could see the vision of New Rome, but it doesn't feel complete. It just feels like a shallow, empty world. And even these grandiose scenes feel empty. There's not enough people in it, I almost feel like. There's not enough grandiosity in something that's supposed to be grandiose. Now, you could say that all this sort of corniness in the movie, because it's a very corny movie multiple times. It's almost inspired by Roman tragedies and dramas, which are very corny in themselves. But it just isn't a complete movie. And by the time it wraps up, you almost want to like it because it has such a optimistic ending, an optimistic view on life and the future of not only film but everything in society. But it just is incomplete, and it's sad to see it so incomplete because you want to like the movie. You want to see Francis Ford Coppola's swan song be a beautiful send-off, but instead it's just a mess, and it's nothing but a mess.